Okay, well, welcome. This is Pop Culture Mondays on Thursdays. And it's Monday today, guys. Full disclosure, we're in the time machine. We will be publishing this on Thursday. I am your host, Brooke Hammerling. We are doing this live from the Future Proof Festival in Huntington Beach, California. And I am here with an esteemed guest in person. This is my first in-person pod.
Oh, wow.
With a friend that I met for the first time in real life last night, but we have been friends on social for quite a while. We'll get into it. And it is Mick Batisky. And unlike Mick Jagger, he actually just goes by Mick. He is just Mick. He is the only Mick as far as I'm concerned. Is that right? I feel like
think
you're.
so, yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Just like I had trauma as a kid, like people saying the Mickey Mouse song to me.
Oh,
my entire
no.
life.
I want to get into all of
Yeah,
you.
so like I had to flip that.
You had to flip it. So you are Mick. Mick is a DJ, and he's the DJ of the festival. He is a famous DJ. He has DJ'd for, you've DJ'd for Jay-Z, right? You've DJ'd.
Long time ago, but yeah.
Okay, but it happens.
It did happen.
Who here could say they
wiki,
DJ'd
so.
for Jay-Z? You've seen him. He has been in some of the places you've been, events-wise, celebrity-wise. He's an incredible DJ, but also he is an angel investor. He has been part of the campaign of one of our clients, Public.com. I've seen you all over taxis in New York City, and
they're here today too.
They are. We just had Life, the co-founder and co-CEO of Public, speak with Josh Brown, and you are also an advisor to startups. So if you're not a multi-hyphenate, I don't know what is. DJ, advisor, investor, extraordinaire. Dad, of course, husband and dad. Those are the most important ones, let's be clear. Your son is how old now?
He's 7.
7.
Yeah, he's my bestie. He's awesome.
That's
Shout out to Miles. He's not going to listen, but
Hi, Miles.
Shout out to Miles anyways.
I've seen Miles. So Mick and I met, and I'm going to do a shout out to our girl, Britt Morgan Sachs.
Love Britt.
That Britt, she's our #1 fan. She introduced Mick and I years and years ago when she was working at Spotify and you were involved with Spotify. And I remember I didn't realize how big a deal it was when I was like, oh shit, I need a playlist for a party and da-da-da-da-da. And she's like, oh, I bet Mick can get it. And I was like, cool, who's Mick? And then I see you have hundreds of thousands of people that follow you, and we have this playlist that you put together. But what I thought was so interesting is that you are really connected into the tech world and the fintech world and all of that. But I want to start, this is a pop culture podcast, but we're going to talk about the newsletter that came out this week in a minute. But I thought we could first talk about what Mick is doing, how you work, pop culture, music, DJ, how did it all begin? How do you become a DJ? And especially as you're in your 40s, so this is not something that is you spawned out of TikTok and are now a creator DJ. You're a DJ's DJ. Tell me about how does one start? How did you start?
I'm really glad I'm not a TikTok DJ. I don't have abs or hair, so I'm kind of fucked. But
there's AI for
that. But
DJs
DJs like me, so I'm a DJ's DJ.
Yeah, you're a DJ's DJ.
Yeah, so for me, my DJing career started kind of accidentally. I was a high school kid playing in marching bands and jazz bands and rock bands and all of that, and I was also a nerd. And I fell in love with 90s hip hop, like a lot of people do. It was a great entry level
This was in the 90s.
Yeah, in real time.
In real time.
In an analog format.
At the height of hip hop of that.
It was
moment.
An incredible time in music, and for me, musically, I grew up so you have to imagine I was a really nerdy, dorky, unsophisticated high school senior with about 2 friends, crazy parents.
Where was this?
In the middle of Ohio, Youngstown, Ohio. And I would come home from school, and I didn't have any friends. So I would just go downstairs and play my drums. And I would play drums with my Walkman on. That's how old Walkmans.
I would have been your friend. I would have been your girlfriend.
And I was I didn't have a girlfriend until I was 20. It was crazy. And so, anyways, and now I just get divorced and married every other year, so it's fucking great. I just made up for that.
You did.
So I would come home from school, right? And I would music was so beautiful. I would like some days I'd play my drums to like Tribe Called Quest, and some days I would play my drums to like Beastie Boys, Check Your Head, or then I'd play my drums to like NWA, then I'd play my drums to like Nirvana. And I was like, this is just such a fascinating era because all these subcultures were becoming pop culture to bring it back to like pop culture.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I just fell in love with music like in a whole new way. And then when I went to college, I couldn't bring my drums. I thought about bringing drums into a dorm room, and the school was just like, no.
Not going to happen. Did you have a roommate?
Yeah, I had a
They were gonna
roommate.
be like,
I had to
"Fuck
ended up buying him out after 2 years. Like I like just paid for him to like not be my roommate, and so I could have all the room. Because I came to college with 2 crates of records, and then by my junior year, I had a whole dorm room to the ceiling of records. In my senior year, I had to get an apartment off campus because I had like a whole living room of records. It just kept growing and growing, and now I have
And
about.
you taught yourself.
Yeah, I taught myself.
Wow.
No YouTube, no. But
Yeah, it's not like the kids in front of TikTok now and they like doing all of the like, look at me, I'm turning all the knobs and I've got my glitter headphones.
But I would say though, like as a musician before I was a DJ, it was very, 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 very easy for me to become a DJ because like I had like a wide musical knowledge, and I also had the ability to play instruments, specifically drums and piano, which lend themselves very well to DJing. Which is why you see guys like Questlove and stuff like who transition from drumming to DJing. It's a very similar skill set, and if you could and drumming is way harder than DJing.
Right.
So like if you could do that, you can easily do that.
As Jeff Tweedy famously said, I fell in love with a drummer, another and another. It's a Wilco song. There have been a few drummers I've fallen in love with, and bass players and lead singers. So I find drumming the most interesting.
It's a great cardio workout.
It's great. I mean,
I
the
don't do it
bodies are
anymore, but,
amazing.
like, yeah.
We actually talked about it in this week's Pop Culture Mondays newsletter, which was my one regret. One of my bigger life regrets just happened last week, and that was I was in London. I was asked to stay for the Foo Fighters tribute concert to Taylor, and I was like, oh, you know, I'd have to change my flight. I'd have to get the dog sitter to stay with Potato another day, and I just was like, it's too much. And I fly home only to be like shown all of the footage from the concert.
Like, who has not cried when they saw that video
His
of his
son
son playing the drums? It's crazy.
It's haunting. It's
Yeah.
beautiful. It's like hair on the back of your neck. And you don't need to be a Foo Fighters fan or even a rock and roll fan to appreciate it. And the technique, and it's just like the spirit of Taylor was in his son that moment.
I went down a rabbit hole after that, and then I watched like Led Zeppelin getting inducted into something in like 2012. It was like I think it was in D.C. And then they had the whole tribute to them, which was actually Foo Fighters, I believe, were part of it.
Yeah.
Taylor Hawkins actually sang because his voice was more similar to the Led Zeppelin tones.
He was a
but
great
then
singer.
they had another song come out where John Bonham's son came out and played drums with like.
Who looks, by the way, just
yeah,
like Taylor.
and
that
yeah,
guy,
it was
John
this-
Bonham's son, people thought was actually the tribute because it's like he looked so much like Taylor.
Oh
but
really?
he's
I did.
not.
It was just crazy. It's like all these legendary icons die, and then their kids like step up.
Take
and
in.
and it's almost like like a superhero story in a lot of ways. Where like, oh, my dad was Batman and he dies, and then I'm going to take up the mantle. It's like it's a fascinating sort of.
What
like,
a beautiful
thing.
way to put it.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to get a little bit more on the DJing side and then talk a little bit about the newsletter. But you from college, you go from getting your dorm room, your roommate out to having your own apartment because you have so many records. How do you transition that into a career? Like, what a lucky thing to be able to like.
Yeah, it was a lot of luck.
love
Like,
for
I mean,
work.
you know, DJing wasn't considered an actual job at the time. Like, it wasn't considered a career. It was a job. It wasn't a career. It was a side hustle before we were like publicizing side hustles as things that we should all do. It was just side hustles were just things you did because you had to do shit to pay your bills.
Right.
It wasn't like this glamorous like side hustle culture.
You were doing
And
it till you had like
I
a
was-
real job or
Yeah. So I was I graduated college and I didn't want to get a real job, and you know I'm really grateful for the timing of how all this unfolded because where we were at as a society I just got a marketing degree. This was 2000, right? So this is like pre 9/11. This is like the internet's still brand new. Social didn't exist. Marketing as a cool cultural thing didn't really exist yet at that point. So the idea of going and getting a marketing job meant you're sitting in a cubicle at
Yep.
like Goodyear Tire, like, you know, doing charts. It wasn't
My
like
first year working in PR, I was sitting at a desk formatting press releases to fit onto letterhead, and I would spend all day trying to get a press release formatted on letterhead that had. I mean, that was my entire
Yeah.
job for a fucking year.
the jobs
It
that
was
people think are
miserable.
glamorous now, they really weren't glamorous 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And then the world changed all of that, right? And so for me, I'm lucky that these revolutionary moments in business culture didn't happen for another 5 years, because it made me reevaluate what I wanted to do with my life. So I was like, rather than go be a cubicle warrior at 22 and stay in Ohio, I was like, let me just try to do this hobby thing. And then the hobby thing kept getting better and better. And then I ended
Where
up.
did you move from Ohio?
I moved to New York. But I used DJing. I went to grad school, got an MBA. Never thought I was gonna be a DJ for real. But it was like buying time. And then by this, where I'm really fortunate, and it's just like God's timing is not. It's much better than my timing. When I finished all of that, it was like 2004, 2005. Now DJing is cooler. DJing is much more pop culture. Business culture is cooler.
Yep.
The rise of the Gary V's and all of that are starting.
Yep. You have those found. It's like the way I look at poker was like the golf. The guys used to play golf. That was the sort of networky thing, and now that's transitioned to poker, which I'm all for. It's more inclusive. We can have it's just like a groover. You have CEOs and pop culture people, and they're all sitting around a poker table together. DJing, that turned into like you have the tech CEOs now get it, the finance guys get
Everybody
it.
caught up to it, and then so that I was just in this beautiful spot where like my whole career was firing on all cylinders, from the business side to my brain to the culture side to my talent. And so I put all those eggs in one basket, moved to New York, and tried to combine them, and it worked.
And had you played, like, what's the biggest audience that you can think of? I mean, I know it's different from a DJ perspective, but
yeah,
like it's got to be different from playing it for like 10 people to playing it for 1,000
Yeah,
people.
I was having a conversation with somebody about this last night, because as a DJ, right?
He DJ'd last night, the opening of the Future Proof Festival. It was amazing.
But it was chill though, and so like as a DJ, there's two ways you could do it, right? That are both equally important to me, and it's just like it's almost like dating or a relationship, in that like when you have one, you want the other, but then when you're with the other, you wish you had the first one. And so for me, it's like
every relationship.
Like every relationship, yeah. And so when I'm playing a party where it's more chill and it's more intimate, and it's not a dancey environment at all, and it's just more like just a vibe, like last night's intro reception or a lot of things that I do for brands, it's very fun for me creatively, because I could play anything and everything, and it doesn't have to make sense like from a BPM perspective or from like even like a thematic perspective. So I could play like a new pop song, I could play a song from The Roots, I could play an Al Green song, I could play a Foo Fighter song, and then I could play like a mellow Kaytranada song all in a row, make it make sense, and it's just all like creating a vibe, right? If I'm playing for like, a raging dance environment, or if I'm playing for like thousands of people like on a beach, or if I'm playing like a mega club or something like that, you can't really take as many of those creative risks, because those don't make sense when you're trying to keep people dancing. You have to, like, the song you play before and after has to make sense tempo-wise, energetically, because if you zig too, you have a little bit of leeway in that, but if you zig too far to the left or to the right, you're going to lose your dance floor, and you're going to lose the energy of what you're trying to build. The flip side of that, from a creative standpoint, is that whereas you get that energy back, and you get that, it's almost like why athletes are going to enjoy shooting that free throw much more like within a packed arena versus like practicing
just
it in the
themselves,
gym, right?
yeah.
Because you get that energy.
That energy, the
and
adrenaline.
And it takes you to a whole other level. But like from a creative music standpoint, it's not the same as, so like when I'm playing like the more quality music, I love it for like the beginning of it, and then I'm just like, fuck, I'm bored, because like I want like to feel that, even though I'm loving the songs I'm playing, I can't get that other thing. And then when I'm doing the other thing and people are like rocking out and having a great time, I'm just like, Jesus Christ, how many times do I got to play this song? Or like, oh, is this song over? Like, but thankfully I get to do both.
Okay, that really helps. Now, just for us, that we won't tell anybody, but what is the one song or like that you just can't, when somebody's like, please play it, and you're like, fuck, I can't deal with this again? Is there one that comes to mind? Maybe it's an old, like, there's got to be. Like, I know there's a song that will drive me nuts if I hear it at a.
There's a few. I don't like Lizzo.
What? Guys,
sure
we have controversy here.
I'm sure she's amazing as a person. Is
it just because of the TikTok, the Balenciaga, whatever? It got too much.
Feels like it's
burned out.
It's funny to me, and
okay.
I respect her talent and her fashion.
FYI, I do love Lizzo. I'm a Lizzo girl. But I was just told today, by the way, a very good friend of mine, Amina, said, Speaking of, like, I'm obsessed with Harry Styles. I talk about it in the newsletter. I refer to him this week as my boyfriend. And she's like, I am stunned that you are a Harry Styles person when you had Chris Pine right there. But she's like, I am convinced that Harry Styles is the Gen Z's Justin Timberlake, and that in 10 years, that whole generation will turn
That's
on
funny.
Harry Styles.
I'll tell you a different song because it's a better story. There's a song that some of you may know, some of you might not know, called "The Wobble."
The Wobble?
I really,
They know. The audience knows The Wobble.
I really dislike that song. And so, like, years ago when I would have to play, I'd have to play it rarely, like once a year or something like that. And when I would have to play it,
Who's The Wobble by? We don't even know.
Vic, something, I think. I don't know. I forget it. But so my point is I would delete the file because it would be like my version of like breaking the record on my knee and throwing it. It was like my moment of like rebellion. and then a year later I'd have to DJ something again and I'd have to play it for some random reason and I'd have to go like buy that shit again. And it'd be like another $1.29. And then like 5 years of this, now I'm at like, I don't know, like $8. And I'm like, I've given this guy $8 of my money and I don't like the song. So I was like, maybe I should just keep the song and swallow the ego and just like play it my once a year. But it was just funny, me trying to be like, rebellious on the song ended up costing me money.
I love it. Yeah, I've never heard of it. I'm going to listen to it.
You've heard it.
I know. We can't play music here because apparently they like come after you, fucking rights, blah, blah, blah. But it's by Vic, V-I-C.
Yeah. It's a perfectly fine song.
The song that gets under Mick's skin.
It just gets under my nerves. Because I was like,
Wobble.
people are like wobbling on the dance floor.
Oh, yeah, but that's annoying. Like when they all start doing the same thing, I can only imagine.
Yeah, I mean, I guess in a more global hierarchy, I hate line dance songs.
Okay.
Because any song that has a pre-arranged situation of what you're supposed to do,
that's
with
the
exception of
weddings.
maybe like Before I Let Go, because that's a classic, I exclude that. I move that into a different category, either the Frankie Beverly or the Beyonce version, because they're both excellent. But like everything else is like my son now is like, I don't know, it must have been in some like Disney movie, but he's singing like the hop 2 times, reverse, whatever. What is that? The Casper slide or Cha-Cha slide or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, yo, you're grounded.
Stop.
Stop right now. And now he fucks with me.
Just to do it?
Yeah.
That's that 7-year-old.
He just walks in the house and he just sings that, and I'm just like, vegetables for dinner, bro. Oh, you're eating broccoli. Let's go.
That's so funny. Well, you read the newsletter. I mean, Mick and I, now that we've met finally in real life last night, we're now best friends, and so he actually did me a solid and read the newsletter today for the first time.
It's the greatest newsletter I've ever read in my entire life. I'm sitting in the hotel lobby, and I'm just like, trying to I'm like, I better read this shit before I walk across the street. And I'm cracking up, and I'm laughing, and I'm just laughing out loud. And I'm texting her, like, you have me looking like a fucking moron in this lobby because everybody's looking at me like, why is he looking at his phone laughing? And it's like, the way she writes, obviously the people listening to this know this, but like for you out in the live audience, like the way she writes is genius. And she's not going to tell you that, but I'm going to tell you that because like how she writes is like, she's really funny in real life, but the way she translates that into like the written word is like next level. And then I was telling her as a DJ, like my brain thinks very curatory, whatever the word would be, of how connecting dots works, because that's how I format my music. And the way she writes, she'll say something on like the third sentence of the newsletter that like references something that's going to come 20 minutes later at the end of like 4,000 words. And I'm just like, how the fuck do you do that? Like, it's so incredible. And I asked her, like, do you have like this big spreadsheet or this whole like, like some Figma, like, situation going on? And she has a notes app with like 10 bullet points, and that's the whole thing. And I'm just like, that's crazy to me because it's very easy for me to do that using other people's music and other people's ideas, but she does it all from your ideas, and it's one of the most impressive things I've ever seen.
Wow. I will listen to this podcast over and over again for the rest of my life when I'm feeling low, so thank you, Mick. This week was a particular one, and because I'd taken 2 weeks off, and as much as I love all of you, I still would love to be topless in Mallorca, reading my books.
We're on a beach right now.
I know. It's just I'll get
it.
arrested in Huntington Beach, apparently. But I
put a MAGA hat on you, and you'll be okay.
It is MAGA country. We are living in a fucking simulation. I'm just going to be very, very real about that. But this week was a big one because I took 2 weeks off, but I'm going to tell you, as much as the Queen died, and we went through some of those memes, some of the mean ones, some of the funny ones. My favorite one was when they turned Buckingham Palace into the Halloween store.
Yeah.
Because every big space in New York or anywhere, when they lose a lease, that it becomes like the Halloween store.
That was really funny.
That was the Buckingham Palace one. But really, I cannot tell you how many people. I have someone in the audience who asked me last night, but there are so many people. I mean, dozens and dozens and dozens to break down what was happening in this drama with the movie that was directed by Olivia Wilde and starring Olivia Wilde, but starring Harry Styles, Florence Pugh, Chris Pine, is it LaBeouf?
Is Florence related to Charlie?
No, it's Puth and Pugh.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so P.
See, that's how I need to read your
Yeah,
name.
there you go. They're two different people. Are you a
They're
Charlie
like,
fan?
aren't they pronounced the same?
Pugh. Yeah, maybe he's Puth. I don't know. But she goes by Miss Flo. If anybody wants to know Florence Pugh, she goes by Miss Flo. That's how we call her. It's whatever. There are so many layers to this story. This story is just, but the big one, the pinnacle was did Harry Styles spit on Chris Pine? And it's like, it became such a meme that like Harry had to address it at a concert and Chris's people had to put out a statement. And the fact is like, it's pretty clear he did something, but it looks like they're like this George Clooney, Brad Pitt duo that seems to have fun with each other. I don't understand.
I think it was for fun, and I think they were just messing with each other.
Yeah, that's what I think. And they're probably high as fuck, you guys. I mean, if Chris Pine was not tripping he's on Molly or LSD, I don't know what was happening, but they were definitely on another level. I want to be there.
Just think about this. If you are sitting somewhere and someone comes and spits on you, you're going to, at minimum, stand up and confront that person in some way, shape, or form. Maybe you don't get into like a fist fight at the front row of a premiere of a fashion show or whatever.
Well, because it's Will Smith moment there.
Right, yeah, I mean, you don't need to go full on Bel Air. Right. But like just as an adult human, like if someone spits on you intentionally, like you're gonna just be like, you can't. So for him, so that's how I knew it was more like, it's like less invasive than the world thought, because nobody's just gonna sit there and take that. Because if you are just gonna sit there and take that, if someone spits on you, the issue is not with Harry Styles spitting on you.
Right.
The issue is with you receiving that spit so cordially.
Right. Well, I'm going to
try out. Which is a whole other sack of worms.
I'm going to try out a theory on people here, and I want your thoughts, but the world is turned on Olivia Wilde in a way that I've never seen. Every single person, the texts I got today were, Olivia Wilde is evil. Now, Olivia Wilde is the girlfriend now of Harry Styles. She used to be
Are they still together?
Well, we don't know. It's a question. But she was in a relationship for a long time with Ted Lasso, Jason Sudeikis. They have kids. There's some drama whether she left him for Harry Styles. But the thing is, Harry Styles is 10 years younger than Olivia Wilde. Who else is younger than their spouse or partner? Priyanka Chopra, who's with a Jonas brother. Sam Taylor Johnson, a director, is with Aaron Taylor Johnson, married for more than 10 years now. They have a 22-year age difference.
Wow.
These women, though, it's like the society is programmed to make them evil. I really do believe that you as a woman, being an older woman with a younger man, all of a sudden, like, I cannot tell you, Olivia Wilde was beloved. People are like, she's such a cool girl. She's bohemian. We love her. And then all of a sudden, when she was with a younger guy, TikTok calls her grandma. Everybody is like, the guys I know are like, she's got some sort of magic spell. She's shooting lightning bolts out of her eyes. I have to look at what is the common thread. Why do people turn? Priyanka Chopra, same thing. Everybody started going after her. She's much
Maybe
older.
they're going to ultimately change the narrative, though, so you guys could do what we've all been doing for
right. Women, we should be allowed to
wife is
date or
12
marry
years
younger
than
men
me.
and not be considered like, crazy about it. Bitches, horrible. It's so interesting.
Yeah, when I married my wife, everyone was just like, great job, dude.
Because she's younger than you.
Yeah,
exactly.
Congratulations.
Now, if you married a woman who was 10 years older than you, people who are 15 years older than you, people would be like, what?
But I totally would have, like, if I had found that person.
That's why we love Mick, guys. This is where it's happening. We're changing the paradigm at Pop Culture Mondays on Thursdays.
Yeah.
Okay, is anybody here, did you guys hear the Korn song? Did this enter into your world? It's Korn. It's Did you see it play out on the?
I saw it like at the beginning of it. I haven't seen the full
So
manifestation.
there is this
of
little
it.
kid, adorable. He had done an interview, and it was at some like state fair or something. And and he's eating corn on a stick, and he's like, "I love corn. Corn's like the fucking best." He's like, oh, he gets really excited about corn, and then he's like, "Imagine it with butter. It's even, oh my god!" And somebody on TikTok, a musician, turned it into a song and auto-tuned it, and it has become, and it's like corn. It's the greatest thing, corn, and it's turned into a like everybody who has children under the age of like I'm surprised Miles hasn't started singing it, but will. And they are just it's commandeering the socials right now. And somebody made a funny meme. They're like. They're like they're playing the song and the guy's crying, the creator, and he says, because I know I'm gonna have to explain this to all my friends on Instagram because nobody's on TikTok, that they'll find out about the corn song in 3 more months when a reel goes out because everybody's like a 3-month delay from when something breaks on TikTok to when it goes to Instagram and to the
That's
olds,
funny.
if you will. But this
Like me.
song, there are other songs that become viral from TikTok, like something that's happened. There was that, the other one where it's the I'm jiggle jiggle. You
Right.
know, that one went viral. With
Can I tell you my thoughts on that?
Yeah, I
as
wanted.
a
That's
DJ?
exact. Well, you beat me to
And
it.
then I
was
actually
gonna
want,
ask
I want to
you.
tell you, I have a random Olivia Wilde story. Not like that, but like
Scandalous.
it's like the most
Whoa.
innocent story in the world. But I actually, as a DJ, it's kind of interesting. And maybe it's also because the demo that I play for tend to be like 25 and up. I'm not playing for like the youth, you know, is that I actually ignore all the TikTok songs that break. And I give it like a, I mean, I try to be like aware of them just for conversational purposes, but from like a musical perspective, like never once has anyone in any audience I've ever played for come up to me and requested a song that was really, really popular on TikTok in a party environment or in any sort of environment where I'm DJing. And I think for me, it's just like, it's almost just like how you interpret music or ingratiate yourself to music in any way. Like, will it last like the test of time? If it could last 3 months or 4 months or 5 months or 6 months, then I think it's something that like will obviously be making it perpetually into like sets of what DJs are playing. But for me, I've always kind of felt like, you know, just because like a song, for example, what would be the example of this before TikTok? Like if a song was in a TV commercial or something for like the Super Bowl and everybody's talking about that song Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday, like do you think every DJ is going to rush to put that in their crates?
Some
Thursday,
will.
Friday,
The creator
Saturday?
ones will.
Yeah. But I'm talking like prior to like
Yeah.
to TikTok. Like no, because like ultimately like a lot of that stuff isn't going to change, like, you know, last the test of time, especially with a new song of, I was going to say of the week, but it's really almost like a song of the day. And so from that perspective, like I just I put a built-in like gap, like a built-in buffer, and then whatever like ultimately like that rises to the top, those are the songs that I start to like work into my sets.
That's so interesting. So you give it a minute and you
Yeah.
let it, because I would say probably 99.9% of them do disappear.
Exactly.
They don't have the legs. Is there one that you can think of that was like starting as like a viral song, but then stuck with it?
Well, you know what's actually interesting is like for me, and we were talking a little bit about this before. The thing that I think is interesting is when that reverse engineers and a classic song from a long time ago gets resurfaced on TikTok. Whether it was
AKA
like,
Kate Bush,
Right.
which is the song that, if any of you guys know, I don't remember the title of the song. Do you remember?
I don't remember.
Yeah, I will.
But there was the Fleetwood Mac song too.
Fleetwood
like,
Mac with the
all-
guy started
yeah.
on the skateboard, and then the Kate Bush song is still number one or on the top 10 charts. Like,
It's
you know,
wild,
and that
right?
started on Stranger Things. They used it in the setting on Stranger Things, and then TikTok took it and went wild with it. And Kate Bush, who
There
hasn't
was
had a hit
It happened
since,
with the Metallica song too, right? On one of those shows where like they used it at the end of one of the TV shows.
oh yeah,
I forget, it might have been Stranger Things. But
yeah, it might have been. So that's the reverse engineering.
Yeah,
Like
I
this
think
old
that's
song.
fascinating too. Like it's like it's like the mirror image of what I just said. It's like if something else can like,
It's the upside down.
yeah.
But it is cool. I like when a classic song like that is reintroduced, and then the Gen Z are like, "Ooh, I love this new song," and you're like, "It's Kate Bush. She lives in a castle in Ireland, and she's been in the
Halloween
hits
sign
in the
on it.
'80s." Yeah, so they think it's their new song, but it's like, "Oh no, we're here again." But they're being introduced to old music.
But you
that
know what?
way.
I never thought about this. That's not too different than I guess how I felt in the '90s and early 2000s when I would learn about old music from sampling. because like people don't sample nearly as much anymore for like rights issues and legal issues, but like in like the prime golden era of hip hop and really pop music for that matter too, everything had multiple samples to the point that you couldn't even clear them all. And I would never have been able to learn about like P-Funk and like all these like legendary groups that weren't played in my household if I didn't look at like at the time the liner notes and then go back and try to like research like who in it. So I got my whole knowledge of music really from like sampling, researching the samplings and going back. But like if it was more fun for me to know the stuff that like my parents didn't know, or to know the stuff that like wasn't the popular thing. So I can relate to that mindset, because that's just a new version of what we all did as kids too.
Well, since we're here at Future Proof, which, by the way, I have to give it to these guys. I mean, this is an inaugural festival, and it is unfucking believable. I think everybody who's listening to this
does not feel inaugural.
It does not feel inaugural. It feels like it's, I mean, my only concern is that next year when they have it, the lines to the food trucks will be so terrible. We're going to have to go and get our own food. But right now it is very hot. It is very sunny. We've taken over all of Huntington Beach, the beachfront. There are food trucks. There are like different, activations, amazing different stages. We're hearing all these people talk. We're at this. It's Future Proof. It's around fintech and.
We got to shout out downtown Josh Brown.
Downtown Josh Brown is like a magic maker, and the advisor circle has put this on. Incredible. But I want to talk a little. Obviously, a big topic here is crypto, NFTs. Where is it going? What are your thoughts? You're obviously advising companies around stuff like this. You're investing in companies that, I mean, your list of investments are going to be, I can't wait for your private plane, and then you and I can fly around the country together. That'll happen.
My Delta Comfort Plus.
Yeah, I know.
That's
my private plane. JetBlue, guys. But what are your thoughts? And like, especially NFTs and music. Somebody on the stage earlier was talking about that's going to be the future in terms of all of our assets are going to be NFTs and music and digital rights around that.
I mean, it ultimately is definitely going to be the future. I don't think that we've reached the point where what the end result of how that product is going to look is anywhere near where we're going to be. And so I think we're in the very, very early stages of that. Obviously, almost like when you think about when streaming first came out, and it was just like, well, how does this really work? Can I play this? Oh, this doesn't work on the speaker. It only works on my phone, or maybe it doesn't work. And people are still like streaming just to like download stuff, and like not everything was like available. And like, even before streaming, with iTunes only, and then it was everybody knew where it was going. But the end result and the way we accessed it and that user accessibility and the global reach of ease for every human was not available when it started versus like where it is now, right?
And the speed of which, I mean, for some of you guys, if you haven't read the newsletter, let me give you a little, we talked about this last night, so I feel like to bring it to the broader audience. When I started in tech, and then music started, and that was the iPod, and you could download music. It wasn't streamed. You were literally taking that song and you were ripping it onto your iPod. And then Napster happened, and Napster was the bane, like literally every artist. I was dating a famous musician at the time, so I was in these conversations. Metallica, REM, all of them were like freaking out, trying to fight Napster. And I'll never forget, this is, so then you had the iPod, you had music, but you had Napster, which was stealing. I mean, people were getting music for free, and the artists weren't being paid. There was a problem. But it was Bono, who I know that some people are like, oh, it's Bono, and they did that whole thing with the iPod. I'm going to give like credit where credit is due. Bono pulled me aside, and this was right at the height of Napster, and he knew all of his peers were anti-Napster, and he wasn't for Napster by any way, but he's like, this is the future. This is the genie's out of the fucking bottle. This is how music is going to be listened to, how people are going to obtain music. And Bono was like, how do I get us involved with that? And hence, you saw the future unfold with U2 and Apple, and that was, the story was done. But the fact is that the speed of which we started, like we're talking, early 2000s, really was like, so you're talking 22 years, the span of going from not being able to imagine what streaming is to not thinking it was going to be here forever to that's the only way people listen to music.
And this timeline is going to be rapidly condensed. It might not even be 5 years. It might be 2 to 3 years. But like by the time for the mass adoption of that, it's absolutely en route, and it's absolutely inbound, and it's coming. I'm just really curious ultimately what it looks like, because like aunt that lives in Iowa is not going to be downloading like a MetaMask account and like remember like there has to be like a different way to do it. And I mean, people are obviously working on this stuff like left and right, and there's obviously multiple ways you can get onboarded into this space. But like for the music stuff, and it's good. I think it's going to be like a Spotify or somebody like that that's just going to start offering that as something built in within the app. Similar to how they grew the podcast industry crazy by starting prioritizing that equally with music and things like that. I think that when somebody who's like the respected name or like the household name in that space does it, then everyone's going to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. I mean, but again, like the speed for which, and it was the Google guys that said, like long ago, the speed of which, like every year, the speed of things that are being adopted, technology-wise or whatnot, like it's condensed more and more and more, right?
Yeah.
So what used to take 3 years now will take 3 months, and I think that's where we're at.
It's going to be awesome. Like when that moment happens, whether it's when we get off the stage or it's like in a year from now.
It's happening now.
It's going to be incredible, and I'm really excited to see
Why?
it.
What do you think is going to be incredible about that? For you personally, why will that be incredible?
I mean, I just think it'll be incredible, first of all, acknowledge the rate of adoption of something that was like so foreign to people a year or two ago that didn't even exist. I just think that's a enormous thing for mankind in general to like, be able to move culture forward at that speed and velocity. But I just also think it's really interesting if you are an artist that's figured out how to capitalize in that space, and now you can do it in a way that's accessible to everybody, not just somebody that had to spend 20 hours researching how to do it. I just think what that can do for your potential bottom line as an artist, or your potential like awareness, and then cultivating real relationships with your fans would be really, really fascinating, because it's a built-in fan club in every way. And imagine if your newsletter was also like doing something like this, like, right?
I know, we need to figure that out. And I will say it's interesting, as all good things start in tech, usually porn, right? There's porn and then there's music. I think those two are usually the indicators of trends. Like they really do. Like the sex industry were the ones that figured out streaming and figured out video and all of that. They modernized before the rest of the world did, and music too. And I think those are the things that are leading in this new world. It's interesting.
I'm watching a wasp or something flying around your head.
Yeah, I see. It's just a moth.
Oh, okay.
We're not going to get stung. For those of you listeners to the pod, I always sort of wrap it up by asking my guest my favorite topic, and it's a take on fuck, marry, kill, but we're trying to be ladylike here. So we say make out, marry, or mute. And it could be a fictional person, an idea. It could be real. Obviously, he's married and in love with this. Is not meant to be like, oh, I have a crush on someone. Just the idea. So maybe I can start and give you like inspo of who I...
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Make out, marry, mute. So I am so boring, but I will continue on my quest of making out with Harry Styles. It will happen. It will. There's a lot of sidebar conversations because there's other members of that.
Does he know your age?
He does. In fact,
You'll be in good shape.
I know one of his bandmates quite well. They were at GoldenEye on my 40th birthday, which was many years ago. So I had the delightful 40th birthday with some of the members of One Direction. So they were well aware of my age.
So there you go. You're perfect.
Yeah. So there's that, and I'm not going to say more. Then Mary, I honestly think...
You're fucking hilarious.
What happens at GoldenEye stays at GoldenEye. It's Jamaica. Everybody should go. It's the greatest place in the world. I would actually marry. I think I'm really into like the tripping, like Chris Pinecone, as my friends call him, on LSD or whatever it is, where he's just like rolling his eyes back and staring off. I would just like to marry. I think that seems fun.
So you could just get in bed every night and just spit on him. And
just like he, and his dad, which a lot of people didn't know. I put it in the newsletter. For anybody my generation or older, his dad was on Chips.
I didn't know that until I saw that.
Yeah, not the cops. He was the motorcycle, like the sergeant. And that's his dad, who's a really famous actor and director and writer and of his own. So I would marry Chris Pinecone. And then I would mute all this like Olivia versus Flo, like our society constantly pitting women against each other. And like there has to be drama and there has to be scandal and like women can't all get along, or like maybe it's ageism, whatever it is. I would mute that shit immediately. Like done. I want everybody to get along. And if they don't, it's nobody's fucking business. That's my three. How about you? Have you thought about it? We talked about this last night.
did talk
so
about it last
I did give Mick warning.
She like springs this shit on me at like 1 o'clock in like that lobby, right?
It was quite late. We had a late dinner.
So I'm gonna go. What's the first one?
Make out.
I'm gonna go very historical on this one.
Oh wow, I love this.
Yeah, I'm gonna go back in time to like
Paint the picture.
Yeah. I think the first time I had like a celebrity crush, I'm just gonna go retro with it. Was probably like while I was learning to like DJ and all of that. So I believe it was like that 2000. It was like that 94. And I guess I was younger, so I would have been like the Harry Styles to this person at the time. But it was like 93, 94 Janet. Like when she had like That's the Way Love Goes, and if you go back like 2 years, you get like that Love Will Never Do video when she was like on the beach and she did that thing that all women do on the beach where they lean forward and like it just looks incredible, and then and then like you go to dinner with them and like nobody eats like that. But it's just like but I was God, I was 15 and I was just like this beach my grandma takes me to, this shit does not happen. I'm just going to watch this video over and over and over again. And so that was, I believe, probably my first, like, celebrity crush. And it's just like...
Janet Jackson.
Yeah, from that moment, yeah. So that...
I think she's a lot of people's celebrity crush to this
I don't
day.
think I've ever said that in interview, too, so there you go. And then...
Breaking news, guys.
And then...
Mary. Obviously, you're married
to
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to just... Because we're still really newly married, so, like, I'm going to just shout out
her.
Carolyn because she's incredible, and she's going to, like, listen and be like... She'd be like, why the fuck did you listen to me? Why didn't you know? Just like... because she truly changed my life and my son's life in... There's not a number that counts the way she changed our life, so we'll just leave it at that. But, yeah, her... she's incredible.
The best. I love this answer. It's perfect.
And muting, I didn't have an answer for this, but you know what I'm going to say, actually? I'm gonna continue my thread from earlier, trying to be like your
Talk about looping threads. I like it.
And I'm just going to like take my 2-decade hatred for the wobble and just throw it out.
You're muting the wobble.
We're going to mute the wobble all these
Vic,
years later.
You are muted?
He's been muted to me forever, so I'm just going to be like, and I'm sure he's a great guy. But like, that song will be perpetually muted. And I didn't have an answer.
What era is this song?
No, what was it, like 10 years ago? Who knows?
I don't even know.
Like, it was probably like 10 years ago, maybe-ish. You know, like it's like eras are so much different now because music moves faster. Sometimes something I think was 10 years ago, it was like 4 years ago because stuff comes at you so much, faster. And so yeah, but anyways, I'm sure. And then I'll go buy the song again, anyways. But
you're gonna hear from Vic because obviously this podcast is gonna go far and wide, and he's gonna be like, dude, come on.
He's probably an amazing dude and an amazing talent. But
so last question for you, because you are a prolific DJ. It's like Mick was here, Mick was there. I'm seeing you in all these different, again, public.com ads on taxis. How many days a year do you travel?
It's ramping up back to like normalcy for
now
me
that COVID
like,
is
it's been like a slow ramp back to like 2019 levels for me, but it's very different. It could be like these 2 weeks are crazy for me, like insane. It was. Where was I? I was in 3 different hotels on Saturday, which was wild. But then and I'm going to like France Wednesday because I have to do actually a wedding in France. I love doing weddings, by the way.
Really?
Yeah, I love doing weddings.
It's there's that adage where rock stars are like, I don't do weddings or bar mitzvahs.
Oh,
but then Johnny Depp just did the VMAs, or I think it was the VMAs, and he came down, which was shocking. But he was like, I'm also available for weddings and bar mitzvahs.
Dude,
and then
I love DJ.
By the way, a couple very famous bands who say they don't do weddings. They have been wedding bands at friends' weddings. So
Man, my favorite gigs of the year are always a great wedding because it's like a great wedding with a great bride and groom in a great environment with the right friends and families, and specifically if you have like a great location and room. There's so many metrics that go into it. It's beautiful, man. Like it's just like I love it. Obviously I can't do all the weddings that come inbound to me because I have to but I have to choose. When it makes sense, I will do it. And I do more weddings. I've done more weddings post-pandemic than I probably did in my entire career pre-pandemic.
I've gone to more weddings post-pandemic.
Yeah,
they're just like coming at you.
I love it. So like I just did a wedding in Italy last month. We're doing one in Cannes.
Oh my God, can I be your
just
PA?
it's just you gotta talk to Carolyn.
I will volunteer. Wait, did any of you guys see The Wedding Planner? Classic rom-com. I'm a huge rom-com fan. J-Lo, and then she falls in love with Matthew McConaughey as the groom. It's sort of like a wedding planner no-no. But she was like, she's like, there's always a song. There's a song that determines whether the marriage is going to last or not, like the wedding song. Do you have one where you're like, oh, no, guy, you can't play this song. This can't be your first dance song? Or is there one that you absolutely love? That's
I suggest a lot to couples in that regard and
Okay. Give them guidance?
give them thoughts. Yeah, and like sometimes they take it, sometimes they don't. Like
what would you guide somebody into it, like a first?
if I can't, as one of your first 5 songs, play Outkast and UGK International Players Anthem at your wedding, then I don't.
Then you're in the wrong wedding.
Probably, I'm at the wrong wedding. Like that's just like, and it doesn't matter your age or your race or whatever. Like that song it's a 20-year song now. It's become a classic song that fits in everybody's wedding. And if it doesn't fit, I will make it fit. I have a version of it where somebody put it over like George Michael, like Careless Whisper. I have a zillion. I will make that song work at your wedding. But it's just like that to me is like the perfect. If I had an actual wedding from us and we we eloped, but like I would have played that at my wedding.
Oh my
like
God.
that to me.
I just want to get married now, just to have Mick play. That's it. I need to find a husband, I guess.
Well, I mean, who here's in their early 30s?
Yeah, early 30s, my type. Yeah, no, age appropriate is better for me. But I love this, and we'll have in our show notes all the ways you can find Mick on all the socials. I could sit here for hours. I know we're melting.
We need to do like more things.
Yeah, we're going to do more things together.
For having me like on this like so having never met her in person
but we've talked so much via
so
socials.
like yesterday, like she lives up to the hype times 10. It's really incredible. Like buy her one of those free coffees if you see her like walking around and get 30 seconds next to her, because it's just it's fascinating and it's endearing, and everybody should be your friend.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you. I need more friends. I do. I'm antisocial, believe it or not, in many ways. Well, thank you. This is it. My job is done. Your job is done.
Can I make you a playlist to send out when this goes out?
Oh my God.
Like an add-on
I
thing?
would die for it.
And we'll just put it in the show notes or whatever? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
No Wobble, no Lizzo, but lots of Outkast and UGK.
We can't play music unless somebody really, really with a big, deep pockets buys my podcast and then buys the rights to songs that I can play, which, by the way, entirely possible. If somebody wants to pay a lot of money, they can buy me.
Or we'll just put a clickable. But you can buy her. And if they buy it because of this episode and you meant that,
you get a cut.
I get a cut.
You get a cut. Always fair. Always fair. Well, thank you guys. This is our first live recorded pod. And as always, David, somewhere in the ether, my producer, is going to be like, what the fuck is this live stuff happening? He's going to edit it.
Why is there a fan right here blowing on our microphone?
I know. And blowing my skirt up. So sorry about that. But thank you. And with that, we will have Pop Culture Mondays on Thursdays next week as well. So talk soon.
Awesome.
Bye. All right. Thanks, guys. That was fun.